Hello, people of the internet, it's Amanda, and I've been watching a lot of like ongoing dramas recently, or something that's easier to consume, or just movies in general, because I want to have sort of like just a fixed schedule as to when I'm going to watch certain things. So it's kind of hard for me to like squeeze in something to binge or anything like that. But the thing is, since I have a dedicated watch list of things that I've always wanted to see, just for, I don't know, a lot of purposes, I guess. I felt like now that I only have like a couple of dramas that I'm really watching religiously week per week, and since there's a waiting time in between these episodes, I figured that I would try to make some time throughout that week to at least accomplish some of the movies on my watch list, if you get what I mean. So now, one movie that I've always had on there ever since the subtitles came out is According to My Butler. Now, obviously, if you've been watching my videos for a couple of weeks, a couple of months now, or you've been following me on Twitter, then you would know that the main reason why I wanted to see this film is because it stars two of King and Prince members, Nagase Ren and Jinguji Yuta, and it also stars Kiyohara Sho. So I was just pretty curious as to how it was gonna go. Um, Obviously, like aside from Hirano Sho, who's been the center of the group and been doing acting projects for ever since they debuted and even before that, the other members I only know them as idols first and not really much of like actors. Aside from Kishi Yuta, who I've seen in supporting roles in some of Nakajima Kento's movies. For Nagase Ren, so I've seen Fly Boys Fly, where he stars with Kitamura Takumi in that one. And I felt like, it was a pretty light-hearted movie. And so he did that movie quite okay. But I just wanted to see more of his works now, considering that he's been causing quite a buzz. He's been cast in the live-action adaptation of the anime Yowamushi Pedal. Yowamushi Pedal. I didn't really know what to expect with this film, aside from the fact that I've seen a lot of people say, it's just a pretty light-hearted film that's easy to watch and everything like that. So I was like, okay, I don't want to read into this much. I don't want to spoil myself much. I want to see like how it is. And so I decided to give it a watch finally. And here are my thoughts. Here on my channel, no matter how much I stan like a certain idol or an actor or whatever, if a film is bad, so I would definitely just talk about it as objectively as I can. Now, for this one, it's actually pretty okay. Like, I'll start off with that comment. It's not bad, it's not good. Is it an essential watch? I wouldn't say so, but there are a lot of things in the film that I actually just personally enjoyed. I think the narrative itself, like overall, it's just basically about Karasama Kai, which is played by Nagase Ren, who is this rich heir to a conglomerate basically. And he just came back from the UK only to find out that his father assigned him a new butler, which is Kisaragi Soma, played by Kiyohara Sho. And they have they have friction toward each other because Kai's character, he's much used to the butler of his father, Otori, so he kept on comparing Otori to Kisaragi. And they have like very varying personalities. So Kai is definitely more of just this untraditional, untraditional boy who doesn't really want things to just be the same, like him being the boss of everyone. Like, that's not his personality. He's really more of the sincere, just mellow kind of character. And he has this thing with color sensing where he looks at things very differently. He recognizes colors very differently, and that's sort of like his talent basically. Now, it seems kind of weird at the beginning, like what does that ability serve as in this entire story, but later on apparently it would pay off later on into the plot. And so given certain like events and circumstances, he meets Akame Tokia, which is played by Jinguji Yuta. And this is where it gets weird for me because I'm so not used to them playing like they don't know each other. Like I've seen them enough in like performances and bangumis and stuff like that, and it's just kind of hard to see them pretend like they're strangers. I got a very similar feel back when I watched Yamada Taro Monogatari way back with Sakurai Sho and Kazunari Ninomiya Varashi. Like it's definitely weird if you know them as their idol personas first, like you know that they belong in the same group, and then you see them on screen play off as strangers or people who hate each other. And I know, but right off the bat, like I initially could tell that Jingu's character is a bit shady. And then Ren's character, you know, it's still very sincere. Again, very similar to the character that he played in Fly Boys Fly. One thing that I want to point out is because there's also narration involved in some parts of the movie, I just realized just how soothing Ren's voice is when he's narrating. Like I know there's just a very calming factor to his voice, but anyway, I digress. So far, like again, the dynamic really focuses a lot more on Kae and Kisaragi's character, and this ongoing sort of like conspiracy happening that each of their servants are sort of like being targeted by someone. There's certain accidents happening, cases, blah blah blah. It's sort of like trying to really make the Karasuma household fall apart, and they sort of like try to, both of them, like Master and Butler, sort of like try to navigate through that. And one thing that I didn't expect about this film is at certain points, like it's not tagged as such, but at certain points it felt like it had BL or yaoi vibes to me. Like I ended up sort of shipping Ren's character and Sho's character. Ironically, for Ren and Hirano Sho from King and Prince, they have this sort of like fans affectionately call them as Shoren, and then with Kiyohara Sho, so there's another Shoren tandem happening, and there's really not much there. It's just that the whole Master and Butler dynamic sometimes really have like a BL or yaoi vibe to it, and there's this one scene in particular which I don't really want to like spoil or anything like that, but there's this one scene in particular which definitely felt like a breakup. This one is, it also had a very contrasting or a very frictional scene between Jingu and Ren. Confrontation scene in between the two of them, and it's very emotional and stuff like that. And basically that concludes how the film is. Like it's just a very simple film about values, about how you treat people, whether you're in a powerful position or you know you're someone who's just ordinary. It talks a lot about friendships and how to resolve conflicts in a non-violent or in a non-convoluted way, and it's just a very light-hearted watch in general. I would say that, again, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, it's not exactly a good or a bad movie. It's just somewhere in between. Like if you want something to pass the time with and just feel good about what you're watching after, I feel like According to Butler is one of those movies. Like it's not something that would make you feel strongly about something, that would make you cry or anything like that, but it's just a movie that you can simply enjoy while you're watching it. Like if you're tired of, I don't know, if you've seen Gekijo recently and you just cried your heart out to that much, just like me, I think this is a good sort of like palate cleanser. Kimpori Boy, so I have to say that on some parts, some of the acting is a little bit shaky. It's not really that bad, like since this isn't a complete melodrama or a rom-com or anything like that, so I wouldn't hold this much against them. It's just that I have to warn people who don't really know them or who aren't really fans of them or just jumping into this movie for the sake of, like, their acting is definitely a bit shaky. Definitely not as good as, like, say, actors who've been doing this for a while and who can really play off the genre really well. But if you're a fan of King and Prince or either Ren or Jingu, I feel like this is a movie that you can definitely enjoy. And yeah, I feel like it's just a very light-hearted film generally. I enjoyed watching it. Definitely had some shipping moments that happened last night while I was watching it. And yeah, but I feel like definitely it's not something that everyone would find really awe-inspiring or fascinating or anything like that. So it's sort of just that in that middle neutral ground kind of thing. Again, a good palate cleanser if you just want to like steer clear from more dramatic movies recently. So yeah. Now, with that said, so tell me down in the comments below, have you seen this film? I also highly suggest Fly Boys Fly, where Nagase Ren also stars in. I feel like that one has a more profound and heartwarming story to it. I did a review on that on my Facebook page, but not really here on my channel. So I'll be putting a link to that down in the description as well. So if you've seen this film or if you're planning to see this film or anything like that, please tell me down in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel and you would want to hear more from me, please hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon in a new one.